Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today we're brawling for it all, is what we're doing. We're throwing down. It's going to be a battle of the ages, I would say, because we're discussing Brawl in the family. And of course, when I say all of us, I'm talking about my family, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
As I already told you, Miles, I'm fine and dandy like sour candy. So I had another case of I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I thought I was going to. So I'm interested to talk about it. I'm interested to talk about how I felt the first time when this episode originally aired all the way back in 2000, whatever, late 2001, early 2002. So I've got some interesting dichotomy there that I want to talk about. But we'll save it. If only there's a podcast where we can release all this information and ideas. But for now, I should throw it back to you. The man, the myth. He's another case of Monopoly-related violence. He is Miles.
I felt very identified or spoken to with the Rostaopoly. That felt right. Yeah, dude. So we're talking about the episode Brawl in the Family today, which originally aired on January 6th in the year 2002. It's our very first episode of 2002. And there's also a few more firsts that we're going to talk about on today's episode. The Brawl in the Family is a parody of the television show All in the Family. Seems very fitting, of course. This one is an episode that is long enough that they decided they needed to cut out the chalkboard gag, which is kind of fun because we definitely have seen a lot of cases where they do an extended couch gag to fill time, but you're in for something special when they don't even have time for Bart to be snarky up front. Though I'll say this, we got plenty of really good Bart in this. Bart really felt Bart-like in this episode. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but we're going to talk about why I feel that way. Like, I felt like his essence shined more on this episode with things like I don't know how to drive a car. It's my very first time. Oh, well, here's the keys. Don't worry about it. I've got my own. And then there's
driving gloves on.
Yeah. And there's another point at the end where very similar. It just had that energy of he's such a little hellraiser and a liar and a brat. And he is just the worst, best 10-year-old ever.
Yeah, it's I knew going into it when you see the car coming into the garage, just the opening shot of the episode, you go, oh, okay, this one's going to have probably a few more notes.
Yeah. We get the couch gag on this one, though, where it's a bunch of hedges on the couch, essentially, and an artist comes in and sculpts the Simpsons out of the hedges, which is fun just because I think from an artist way, there's probably an NFT already made, which is ridiculous, but whatever. Homer disappearing into the hedges has become one of the most iconic scenes, I guess, from The Simpsons just through the act of memes. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but it's just them.
So are you trying to say that you want Homer disappearing into the hedges to become a hedge all in one shot?
Oh, probably someone's done that too. There's some weird video of effects artist or whatever, but I'm all for it. Yeah. I need to talk about the commentary on this one because it's weird, man. It is really weird. But it's very interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Weird is good or weird is bad?
It's good. It's a positive thing, but it's awkward at times is the truth of it. And I'm going to tell you why. First though, let me say this. It featured Al Jean, and I mentioned first, this was his very first episode solo show running the show, which is pretty cool. It also featured the writer Joel Cohen, and this was his first script that he had his first full script. He'd been a staff writer and he's done a Halloween, a Treehouse of Horror previously, but this was his first full written episode. It also featured David Silverman, Matt Warburton, Max Cross, and Delroy Lindo, who I had to look up his voice. He is the guest voice actor on this one. But Delroy Lindo is one of those actors that you have for sure seen in a lot of different movies. A lot of movies. Around this time, I think my personal favorite that I knew him from was, Congo. But he was also in movies like Get Shorty. He was in Malcolm. He was in a lot of like heavy hitting blockbuster, like huge roles or like always like supporting roles, but like always like a big name. Gone in 60 Seconds. He was the cop. Yeah, lots of I think he was also the cop in Ransom as well. Broken Arrow, that was a fun one. There's a lot of movies that he was in, is my point.
But it's just that not a recognizable name is the thing. Like you have to.
He was not a recognizable name whenever I just heard the name. Yeah, exactly.
I had to IMDb him too after the episode was over because I was like, I feel like I should know who this person is, but I don't.
Well, I feel like I got to know this person a lot better through the course of this commentary, because this is what made it weird, man. I'm not gonna lie. He started out the commentary. He basically made it clear that he wasn't really a Simpsons fan, that he did it for his kids, which is very common on these audio tracks, as you know. But he also made a point as like the credits are rolling. He like kind of starts calling him out, like, why do you guys have so many producers on this show? There can't possibly be that many people producing. And it's like, all right, a little like confrontational. And Al Jean like immediately. To make this even more awkward, as soon as he gets that out, he had tech difficulties and his audio got disconnected because he wasn't actually in the studio. He was doing a like tele in. So Al Jean starts to like scramble and essentially answer the question. And I'm pretty sure he is dead serious when he said that a lot of times in lieu of a raise, people are offered a producer credit and they just take that. And Matt Selman chimed in and joked, and this referring to his audio disconnection is this is what happens to anyone who brings it up.
Good save, guys. I'm interested to know, like, we always have like holdover episodes from the previous showrunners, and I just realized something that may be why this happens. We could go back and look, I guess, if only there's a podcast that reviewed Simpsons episodes. But do the new showrunners take over at the beginning of the year?
No, it's usually a transit. Like, we've done this enough that I can answer that pretty confidently. It's usually partway through the season. It's like the beginning of the
calendar year.
Oh no! Oh! I see what you're saying. I do not believe that is the case. I do believe that it is in fact with the new season. It's just that the reason that it's not like always in direct order for us watching it on the DVDs or whatever is because they do have those holdover episodes and the episodes that are being produced. But I don't think it. I think each showrunner starts and ends with the beginning of the season.
Okay, it would make more sense. Contractually, it would make more sense where it's like, as of January 1st, 2022.
Not really, because you can put any date on a contract. Like that doesn't like very few things operate on January. Even fiscal years don't operate on January 1st.
I know, like my company is very well known for starting June 1st, but I'm just saying, like, it just would line up. I don't know. It would make sense and be a little bit more easier to dictate. I feel like if that were the case, so I'm just interesting, and it would explain why like the holdover episodes mixed in with everything, like it would just be an easy answer, which I know that's not how life works, but maybe something to pay attention to. I guess we'll never get to pay attention to it though, because the showrunner now is the showrunner up until
this was our last chance. Sorry, that's a mystery that will never be answered. It'll go to Al Jean's grave.
Yep.
Hopefully not soon. I wasn't like trying to like wish that upon him, but you know what? I've got more to say about Delroy on this commentary. It's very interesting. Again, I will say it is awkward, but it leads to some very interesting discussions. Like legitimately, I think putting Al Jean and the boys on their toes to some extent, with having to like kind of handle this conversation with somebody that clearly doesn't really know them that well and doesn't really understand what they are to some extent, I guess. But you know what? Let's get into the episode and introduce to first we have one of my favorite opening sequences ever in the show, for what it's worth. But we'll at least wait till we meet Delroy's character before we dive more into this commentary. This episode begins with a meeting of Springfield's Republican Party, which is in a very like castle, like Dracula-like castle. We see Mr. Burns is at the head of the table. and announcing that they have been keeping Senator Strom Thurmond alive, mostly robotically at this point. They all start chanting 20 more terms, 20 more terms.
Moving on to new business. What act of unmitigated evil shall the Republican Party undertake this week?
We get a fun political joke right here because Ralph Nader is raising his hand like Lisa might be in class, like, ooh, calling me.
You've already done enough, Nader.
Which, again, this episode was in 2002, very early 2002. So this would have been right after the Al Gore and George W. Bush election in 2000. And at that time, Ralph Nader ran as the Green Party candidate. And he, for a third-party candidate, got an unusually high percentage of the votes, which many people actually blamed for the reason that Al Gore lost, is because most of the Nader voters would have likely voted for Al Gore in the event that the Nader wasn't part of that campaign. So that's why Ralph Nader is being praised by Mr. Burns here before being cut off.
I don't think he's being praised.
I'm sorry.
The brother that you don't want to acknowledge, but you're like, you've done enough.
But I think it's like the brother that like you just needed him to go in and just like fuck some shit up, and he's very capable of that. Yeah, but you're right. He wasn't praised, but Krusty also has ideas of how they could be more evil.
Let's get rid of PBS. Those lousy Muppets have been taking food out of my mouth for too long.
I like that there's a literal Dracula who's like, I say we crack down on the hippies, blah.
What's about this dang environment? Back in Texas, we get rid of it. It made everyone a lot happier.
You know, I don't usually agree with the Rich Texian, but he makes a good point here.
Text started going from text to Krusty there. I don't know what happened.
It happens. No, I don't usually line up with his views, but I agree. The environment wasn't doing anything for any of us.
Especially not this year with the freaking 112-degree temperatures in July.
Yeah.
Excellent. We shall destroy the environment by scrapping every anti-pollution law. Now, Bob Dole will read from the Necronomicon.
Ezek Ziri Galenus Maledictu Nosferatu in Principal.
Miles, you better get up on your Necronomicon speak since you're now going to be in the Evil Dead musical. So, congrats to you,
I
sir.
did follow up on that storyline from whenever we talked about that. I jokingly or like half-assedly like went about this audition to like get myself in a weird, uncomfortable place just on stage, and I accidentally landed a role. So that's going to be cool. That's coming this Halloween.
It's exciting times, man.
I'm excited about it, man. It's going to be fun. I get to play Scotty, who is like Ash's best friend and totally an asshole. I get to say some pretty.
I don't know how you're
going
to pull that off.
I know it's going to be a stretch, bro. No, honestly, I just found another comic friend is actually going to be playing my like slutty girlfriend. So I kind of feel better about that because I say some pretty messed up things to her. So I'm glad that like I know she can handle it.
You need a sense of comfort when you're talking down to a female, Miles.
Yeah, something I'm familiar with.
I'm excited to see you sing in front of an actual crowd.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm at some point I'm going to absolutely play. Yeah, no shit. I'm going to absolutely play. I know there's a clip somewhere in like our first season where I like basically promised to never sing on this show. And whoops, my bad.
No,
there's a lot of things that were said on this show at one point that we no longer hold responsibility
no takesies, backsies.
For. Yeah, whoops. What can you do? But yeah, this is how we open our episode. It's a really funny bit, and it basically gets turned into law that recycling is now a felony offense. And Smokey the Bear is now changed professions to be like anti or like pro lumberjacking. He's like cutting down. No, he even cuts up an environmentalist with a chainsaw, doesn't he? Yeah, he roughs up a hippie.
I thought he was just like punching him or something.
Well, he definitely gets a chainsaw because I remember thinking like, wow, do you really think I think a grizzly bear might be more effective without the chainsaw, but like it's a funny image.
Yeah, exactly. the grizzly bear is better at getting through bone than the chainsaw.
Mm-hmm. We even see a spotted owl habitat being taken down, and I love that. Basically, there's a sign that says like "Don't harass the owls." Don't harass the owls. And as soon as they remove it, Nelson pops out from behind a tree and starts giving an owl a noogie. Stop endangering yourself. Stop endangering yourself.
I mean, to be fair, he also wants to nuke the whale, so gotta nuke something.
Gotta nuke something. Mayor Quimby gets in on the anti-environmental action by pulling the literal plug on the Springfield wetlands, which is hilarious because it looks like a giant bath drain. When he pulls it up, they just go swirling down and leaves it in like a desert-like state.
It looks like Texas afterwards, so good job.
It kind of does look like parts of Texas afterwards. In the river, we see the famous Springfield's three-eyed fish. And then that fish is immediately eaten by a larger four-eyed fish, which is in turn eaten by a larger six-eyed fish. And finally, that fish is eaten by Homer, which is like a really fancy sushi roll, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a really funny story from this particular scene. And I honestly think that this kind of sheds some light on an interesting like trade secret or industry secret, I should say. Let me find it. Here we go. This episode was nominated for an environmental award, which Al Jean explained that a lot of times with these fringe award shows, they don't actually have enough things to nominate. So they often will call up the Simpsons and like encourage them to include anything. And in this case, Al Jean even remembers him like being like, we have nothing that like could possibly be considered environmentally friendly, like ready to go that you haven't seen. Like, you know, like we don't have it. And they like seriously, we just need anything. So they submitted this clip for the environmental awards and actually took a nomination. And basically he just totally admitted that like their stuff has no chance of winning most of the time when this happens, but it always gets the biggest laugh. And like as many of the staff that wants to can go out for like a free dinner and drink. So it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like randomly when it was just a really crappy year for everybody else, they might end up winning occasionally. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, there are times that they have in fact won, but it's usually when like Lisa is taking a cause or something of that nature. But this one was just straight up. I mean, there is no like environmentally positive message about any of that sequence,
except that like, you know, it looks so bad that you in real life want to do the exact opposite.
I guess so. Yeah, it's leading by anti-example. That's true.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll be the other guy.
So we immediately see the repercussions of these like laws changing because all of these industries, like the smokestack, the steel mill, the smokestacks of all these industries, like the steel mill, there's another, it's like a lumber yard. And then the daycare center is the worst polluter of them all. They're just putting tons of smoke into the air, which actually leads to acid rain falling. First, you see it hit the statue of Jebediah Springfield, which starts to put holes into it, which is kind of like melting it a little, which is like dangerous levels of like, if it's melting a statue, it's going to mess some humans up, dude.
Mm-hmm. I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling.
You got one more line, bro.
Oh, it burns like a Glasgow bikini wax.
You missed the punchline.
Yeah. I was like,
you were getting into character. You were actually like collapsing on the ground, like rolling around in pain right now. Yeah.
I was thinking about how when I saw this scene, you know, this is 2002, and instantly I've only seen one scene from the escape room movie, and it was this scene. So, like, it literally made me think of the acid rain scene in that movie when I was watching this. So, I was already jumping ahead to wanting to talk about that.
I actually enjoyed those movies. I mean, they're silly as all can be, but, like, I think they're kind of fun. I dig them. So, this is something that was really fun. This next scene in particular is hilarious because like it's like the perfect situation for Homer because they literally can't go outside, which means that they have to stay in and watch TV until the acid rain actually melts the antenna itself, which that puts that this time in 2002 means no TV for Homer basically. which we are about to see a wonderful situation where Mo is on a blind date.
Again, harping on Mo this season.
Right? He felt a connection, but she thought he smelled like puke. And that's where we get cut off. And Homer literally, he's like screaming at the TV, running outside, screaming because he's in pain from the acid, then screaming back inside because of the TV. It just goes on for a while, but like not like Family Guy too long, like a good amount. It made me laugh.
Mm-hmm. Until you get the stop screaming, Homer.
I do want to say that the acid rain thing is an interesting thing to just have to happen in this episode, because I've been seeing a lot of people trying to make points that are like anti-environmentalism and like people who are like climate change deniers, for instance, have been using this example of specifically acid rain and the hole in the ozone layer. And they always say things like, they tried to scare, they'll like try to compare it to like COVID and like, oh man, they were just trying to scare us in the 90s by telling us that there was a hole in the ozone layer. But when's the last time you heard about that? Same thing with acid rain. Like, it used to be you'd have to be scared of acid rain, and now nobody has to deal with that anymore. And it's like, well, the reason that those things went away is like collectively the world actually like worked together. Like the United Nations actually like made stipulations for like all these countries who all like actually did what they were supposed to do and reduce the air pollution enough that in fact the ozone layer like healed itself. And acid rain stopped, or at least stopped at the levels that it was so dangerous at that time. And it cracks me up that there's like this whole movement of people that are just like anti-science to the point that they're just like, it's a conspiracy, man. They're just not talking. They just try to scare you about Australia and whatnot.
Or we just polluted so much that the hole turned into the entire world.
There is the hole. It's like when you're boxers, like there's more hole than boxers at a certain point.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. I like your theory better than all of them. Now I'm back on Team Conspiracy. Yeah, you got me. But back to Homer, who's having his own crisis that seems like it might take something to fix. Marge tells him to quit screaming, and Homer's like, quit trying to control me.
We don't need TV to have family fun. Why don't we play Monopoly?
Lisa goes to the closet where she asks, which version? We've got Star Wars Monopoly, Rasta Monopoly, Gallopalopoly, Edna Krabopoly, which why didn't they make that? I would buy Edna Krabopoly right now, and I don't even enjoy, like, I'm to the point that I love Monopoly at one point in my life, but like I pretty much refuse to play because there are just way better board games out there now. But Edna Krabopoly, I'm on it.
It's just fun to say.
It is. It's a good word.
Let's stick to original Monopoly. The game's crazy enough as it is. How can an iron be a landlord?
So we see, like, we kind of cut into a ways into the game where Bart has seemed to stacked quite a few hotels and houses around the board. There is a really
it's all in one area that he stacked them.
Yeah, like one Marvin Gardens specifically is what he says. But it's a really funny sequence because we see Homer roll a 3 and Bart immediately is like, time to pay up, old man. And Homer's like, we'll see about that. And he counts out slowly 1, 2, 3. And of course, no, Bart was right. He landed right there. We see that Homer is a little light trying to pay Bart's rent on all those houses and hotels. And Homer starts to beg, I'm good for the rest. You know I am.
Well, I'd like to trust you, Homer, but you've been in jail 3 times.
They told me it'd be like this on the outside. This is when Lisa makes a discovery that Bart's hotels are actually largely made out of Legos, and she accuses him of cheating.
Like, wouldn't you see him putting that stuff on the board, though?
You would think, right? But I used to cheat quite a bit at Monopoly, and it's not as hard as you'd think.
Lisa, it was probably just an accident.
Oh, sure. You take his side just because he bought you that house on St. James Place.
Who else is going to take care of her? Dad?
Why, you little... And we get a big
fighting.
Breakout scene here. Lisa chimes in, Mom, that's not how you pry them apart. And she tries to grab Bart from the other side.
I've been prying them apart since before you were born.
all the Simpsons minus Maggie are in one giant chokehold with each other at this point, and you can see that Maggie is concerned. She crawls over to the phone where there's preset emergency numbers featuring fire, police, medical, and then a actual silhouette of Homer like strangling Bart, and that's the one that she pushes to get Chief Wiggum on the phone. Okay, well, everyone turn to the left. We're at a police lineup, we think, where they're trying to like identify, when you see like people lined up and it's like, which guy was it, 1 through 5? But then Wiggum comes on. Well, okay, come on, people. The prison Nutcracker Suite is 1 week away, and I don't see 5 sugar plums. I see 5 guys who don't know their moves and don't seem to care. There, I said it. Then the phone rings, yeah. Wow, that better be wardrobe, and it better be good news. Hello?
And all he hears is fighting in the background.
He realizes it's a domestic disturbance, so he tells him that we're going to be right back. And don't try anything. Johansson, there's a snitch. So as Wiggum walks away, everybody beats Johansson while Wiggum goes to save the Simpsons.
At least he's being honest with everybody.
Johansson's a snitch. The police arrive at the Simpsons home, and when they're like kind of like surveying the scene, the top hat goes flying through the window, and giving Wiggum all the information he needs to understand what's happening inside. There's a huge Monopoly fight, so they send in the Negotiabot, which is a robotic police officer who seems like it's like a cross between a police negotiator and a bomb disposal unit. But it starts very like calmly, like, I am Brenda. I am programmed to talk in a calm and constructive manner. Destroy.
And then it start shooting shots at him.
It pulls a gun on them at first, and you're like, what the hell? And yeah, it ends up shooting them with a giant taffy wad, which Homer originally declares is police brutality, but then realizes it's more chewtality.
Yep. And, again, this is back before, we had what's going on in the world today. Never mind. I was going to get
you know what? The gun thing didn't surprise me as much, frankly, as Maggie having a mouthful of all of the actual houses from the Monopoly board. I meant to bring that up because Bart blames Maggie for the reason he's using Legos, and we cut to just a brief moment of Maggie, and her mouth is like stuffed full. And simply put, I just like that kind of surprises me that they'd let anybody show that because of the obvious like choking hazard that would be in real life.
Yeah, when she's not swallowing.
Well, I mean, you don't know if she like coughs or anything, and she could easily choke. But I mean, I get she didn't. Like, she's still around to get arrested later. It's fine.
They showed like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old putting a whole pack of crayons up his nose. I mean, come on, Miles.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm overthinking it for sure.
Yeah.
I like here
the wizard did it. Let's move on.
The robot the robot cop Brenda is trying to like take Homer in, and Wiggum's like, I'll take it from here.
No, wait, this is my collar.
But before she can argue, Wiggum switches her like literal power switch off on her back, and she shuts down. Wah. Too bad real women don't come with these, huh?
And then Homer, you got that right while he's in taffy.
Quiet, you. That counts as your phone call.
Oh.
That brings us to the end of our first act, which was a very, very middle, balanced, I should say, and equaled almost 7 minutes.
The way you started that phrase made it sound like it was going to be either really short or really long.
Yeah,
it was a very, very mediocre act.
Yeah, it was as dead center as average as you could be, is what I was trying to get out there, and I went a different direction with it. Thanks for letting me know. 6 minutes and 41 seconds is where we chime in before we cut into Act 2, which opens with the newspaper spinning, like that type of cut screen or whatever. And the paper reads that the Simpsons family all arrested in a domestic dispute. And then underneath it says, even Maggie.
Yeah.
And that's when we actually
been in there for a while, because you got to have
long enough for a paper to be printed.
And then it has to be printed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at least half a day. I mean, even if it's hot to the press, you're not getting that out in a couple hours tops. Like,
exactly.
Anyway, we see the Simpsons, including Maggie, all sitting in their jail cell. Lisa's most upset because now she's never going to get into an Ivy League school.
You're going to Stanford. You're going to Stanford.
And it's Bart taunting his sister, and we think that it's going to stop when the scene cuts to him and Homer, but instead it's just Bart and Homer together. You're going to Stanford. You're going to Stanford. That was really bad.
Yeah, we're usually better in sync than that.
It's hard when you're on the recording.
Sorry,
Lisa like tries to beg them to take it back, but Homer's like doubling down. Stanford.
This family has hit rock bottom. Which she does say that so much now that it's losing its effect.
There's something else she says later that is even more. I think it's like almost an inside joke. I hope they talk about it because it's like the line. I'll just say it. It's when Marge tells Homer, "This is the worst thing you've ever done." I think that's like the third time at least this season that Marge has said that to Homer. I think it's like almost becoming like a repeated phrase joke.
Mm-hmm.
But right when that Marge is like hitting rock bottom, we actually get like a heavenly chime and a man in a white suit with a hat who introduces himself to Gabriel, or as Gabriel comes into the cell. And Homer is even immediately taken because of the combination of the choir music and his appearance. He assumes that this man must be an angel.
A heavenly choir. You must be an angel.
No, that's my pager. I'm a social worker. I'm here to help you stop fighting and become a family again.
No, you are an angel, like Denzel Washington in The Preacher's Wife, or Will Smith in Bagger Vance, or Slimer in Ghostbusters.
Sir, we know you're not an angel. My husband just sees too many movies.
Don't blame me. Blame Tinseltown and its second golden age. May it never end.
So Gabriel is their family's assigned therapist to help them out with their domestic issues that they are having. He decides that he's going to like interview them all to kind of just get a sense of the situation. And he starts with Lisa sitting at her desk, and she tells him that her room is a sanctuary that her family respects. And as she goes to continue, Bart bursts through the room.
And I think he was sprayed by a skunk.
So he runs to his sister's closet to use her sweaters to clean himself up.
Yeah, which it's not like you just wipe the smell off and then it's gone.
And we cut back to Lisa still sitting with Gabriel, only now instead of being calm and like well-mannered, she's like looks like she's stressed to the bones, and like she has a stress ball, and she's just repeating only 10 more years, just 10 more years, just 10 more years.
And you would think after last week's episode that she would just be able to sit down and meditate, but I guess that would be anti-episode if she did that.
Yeah. We see Bart next, and this points out that some kids, especially at this time, could have possibly been embarrassed to be assigned a therapist, but Bart is like all about it. He's like, "Attention, everyone! This is Gabriel, my personal social worker. He has to be here. I'm just that nuts."
Wow. How come you get a social worker? I'm the one with stigmata.
Well, House holds his palms up, and he's bleeding from the palms. Very religious episode.
Yeah.
Once again, sitting down with Marge, it seems like everything is going great. She's doing a little bit of cooking. She offers Gabriel a brownie. He's very appreciative of it, and even says, "Wow, you really do love cooking."
Food keeps my family happy, so I make a few practice dinners before showtime, because at 6 o'clock, we go live.
And you can tell Marge is not doing well. She puts on a good game face most of the time, but when you get to know her on a personal level, cuckoo. And, if you were going to observe Homer in his natural habitat, you might think his couch, but if it wasn't there, it would definitely be Moe's Tavern, where he decides to have a few pints while explaining, his situation. Homer's going on and on. "Okay, Gabriel, this is a bar. It's where I go to drink alcohol, which is the mortal equivalent of your ambrosia."
Homer, I am not an angel.
Well, not with that temper. And we cut to 7 beers later for Homer, and Gabriel still working on his first.
Yeah, but 7 beers later, after the one Homer had, there's 8 glasses on that counter, 8 bottles on that counter.
Sure. Look, I think about my family is there's 5 of us. Marge, Bart, Girl Bart, the one who doesn't talk, and that fat guy. How I loathe him. I love that. That might be my favorite part of the episode, honestly. How I loathe him.
It's
how very dark.
Homer reflects on himself.
Mm-hmm. We see Gabriel once again taking plenty of notes on this situation because there might be some problems here with Homer and his alcohol use. I'm not sure here how he's going to be prescribed, or yeah, it'll be fun.
The prescription is more alcohol.
It's the causative and solution to all of life's problems.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel decides that they need to get away a little bit, so he takes them to a wooden, like the woods, like a nice little field, like camping style situation. And Homer's still on the angel thing. He's like, okay, why are we in the woods? Is this heaven?
No, Homer. I brought you out here to shake off your negative behavior patterns. Marge, you medicate your family with food. Bart, you'll do anything for attention. Cut that out!
We see Bart's wearing a beard of bees, but he insists that they chose him.
Homer, your problem is quite simple. You're a drunken, childish buffoon.
Which is society's fault because...
It's your fault, Homer. But I've got an exercise that will help all of you break out of the roles you're stuck in. Who feels like lunch?
And we basically find out that Gabriel has devised a plan to make the Simpsons work together because he has hung a backpack with all of their sandwiches and a falafel for Lisa up at the top of a tree, and they have to figure out how they're supposed to get it. Gabriel explains that they're going to have to cooperate, but Homer insists that cooperate? Well, this is one family that doesn't swing that way.
Are you sure? I made roast beef sandwiches, 1 falafel.
And those don't really faze Homer, but when he points out that there's plenty of beer, Homer goes into Homer mode. He runs to the car, and he actually drives the car in reverse, like Destruction Derby style, into the tree, causing it to knock over. And it looks like the tree is about to. It looks like the tree is about to crash onto Gabriel himself. He's like shielding himself as the shadow falls upon him. But it misses just barely, though the limbs actually do catch his limbs, of all things, his legs specifically. And that's when the tree goes sliding into a ravine, dragging him with it, which this is a really kind of exciting shot. And it's interesting because they do a really good job of making you feel like Gabriel's in peril the entire time, but they never actually have him go through any significant trauma. Like he doesn't land on the ground. He's like hanging from the tree the whole time.
He's just going through tree-ama.
Yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm.
He is in a pickle, though, it seems, because now he is standing on this tree that is lodged in between 2 cliffs with a bag of roast beef sandwiches and a falafel hanging beneath his feet. As some lions and cougars have gathered below him and are also trying to devise a plan to get Gabriel and those sandwiches, it would seem. The Simpsons bust into action and realize this is our chance. We have to work together to save Gabriel, and they assure him that they've got this because they've huddled together and they finally have learned to work together. And I absolutely love when Gabriel points out, that's great, but they've also learned how to work together, so you might want to hurry. And we see a huddle of like wolves and cougars, and when they realize that they're being like eavesdropped on, they like shuttle, they like stutter, no,
They quick step.
Yeah, whatever. They like scoot 10 paces over to get out of the way.
They scuttle.
There we go.
Which that part I just kept laughing at. It's just so entertaining to me. Hearing them go, and then they look up and then
I love Homer's original plan, by the way, is not to help him, but to all just drive off and cover for each other.
Yeah.
But Lisa's like, no, we can't fall into our old plan, our old patterns. So
Yep.
they do actually like work out a way to get.
Which means that they've covered for someone's death before.
They've definitely had an "I know what you've done know what you did last summer" moment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But they do actually get a plan. They use a rope to bring Homer down to help.
Why?
I know, worst decision of the bunch, honestly. I was thinking about it. I would probably go with I would have Lisa hold Maggie, and I would have Bart and Homer lower Marge, as I think the move.
Marge has the longest reach because of her hair, and she's like not too heavy.
She's the lightest. Yeah, you have way better strategies here than Homer, but that's what they chose.
That took us seconds, Miles, seconds.
And we didn't even have to huddle, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But we we do see that it seems like it was going to work at first until like they end up falling onto the limb with the bag. And as they're like holding on for dear life, we see that the wolves and the cougars have devised like a plank where they can like spring each other up into the air. So they start trying to distract the animals by they drop the sandwiches and the falafel, but Homer realizes like, oh no, the roast beef has made them stronger and the falafel has made them more angry.
Which I thought at first they were just making a pile of animals to get up to him, but then they can't quite get up there, so then they devise the propelling each other in the air with plank launching.
Homer is very upset, but they do agree to finally drop the beer to put them into a dislodged state, and he actually refuses to do it until he realizes that it's not Duff. It's some other brand that he doesn't like as much. Meanwhile, back up on top of the hill, like as soon as they got Homer down, Marge had ran off to get the car to help pull them up, but she tripped on a root and hurt her driving ankle. And this is where we get that great scene because Marge is like, oh no, my driving ankle. Bart, I know this sounds crazy, but do you think you could drive a car?
Okay, but it's my first time.
Here's the keys.
I got a set.
And he puts on his driving gloves as if he's done this hundreds of times in the past, and then expertly like navigates the car to the cliff where they're able to get the rope on the bumper and pull both Homer and Gabriel to safety.
But they're not out of danger yet.
Yeah, because we did that scene out of order. They totally are.
Yep.
We have rescued these guys successfully because the animals have bit into the cans of beer and immediately got drunk, which does lead Homer to be like, hey, those guys are all right. And on the way home, we see all of the family with Gabriel in tow, and they're all together singing, We are family. We just need to quit trying to do these together right now. It's way
on
up.
my end, it sounded perfectly in sync that time.
Well, that's not how I heard it. I'm sure the recording will tell, but please go ahead, sir.
Our bitter fights are now history, or bitter. I was thinking of the animal still.
Fight.
Our bitter fights are now history.
Yeah.
Wolves and cougars ate our roast beef. Sorry, it rhymes.
This isn't the best day for our singing. We'll get it back at some point.
Miles is saving his singing energy for Halloween.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. It seems though that everything is completely resolved. The Simpsons are a happy family that are now learning to communicate and work together. It seems like, as Lisa points out, is this going to be the end of our series?
Well, and now Gabriel has earned his wings CD.
Yeah. But Lisa's line is like, could this be the end of our series of events?
You know, as Marge points out too, they've been through some 280 adventures together.
It's true. But right as they point this out, they pull up to the house where they discover Amber and Ginger, who are the two women from Vegas that Homer and Ned married when they were drunk visiting there together last season, or even 2 seasons ago at this point.
It was more seasons than that.
It was. It's been a while. And keep in mind that Homer and Ned never talked about that. They just like decided to leave those ladies in Vegas and just like move on. So the rest of the family has no idea who these two women are, which makes it very, very uncomfortable and shocking when Amber says, "Yeah, I'm looking for Homer Simpson."
Oh, it's the woman I married in Vegas.
And this is where Gabriel just loses it. Homer, you're a bad man, and your seed should be wiped from the earth. And then he remembers that Bart and Lisa are there, so he apologizes. Oh, sorry, no offense, children, before walking away.
And that's the last we'll see of him.
Yeah, and we are another very balanced timestamp of 13 minutes and 25 seconds as we end our second act. And this is a good time to talk some more about that weird commentary I mentioned, because Delroy was asking some very interesting questions. But again, you could tell he just didn't have a lot of knowledge about the show at all. After harassing them about their producer count, he boldly claimed that he did not feel, after asking about how they do the character stuff, he basically said, I didn't really feel like my character matched my voice. And he started asking about how the process works and was surprised when Al informed him that they actually designed the character after recording him. But he then kind of in a slightly awkward manner, Al Jean was kind of like the hero of this commentary, because like I've been in his position on this podcast before. He was handling it on a much bigger level, of course. And it was just kind of interesting to hear him. I don't want to use the word scramble, but definitely you could see it wasn't the designed play. This is not how he thought that this commentary was going to go. And they talked a lot about how, that's something that in real life, most people don't actually sound the way that you would assume just by looking at them. And that's actually something that as a like exercise, they will sometimes do in like the writer's room and whatnot, is like, they will like go places and like close their eyes and listen to people talk, like eavesdrop on them, and then look at them to see what they look like after they've already assessed like what they sound like, essentially.
Interesting. That's odd that you bring this up too, because it wasn't even a week ago, I think, that you said somebody recently commented on how we don't look anything like what.
Oh my god! Yeah, honestly, I forgot about that. Yeah, we got a comment on a YouTube on our YouTube channel recently, and it was just like, "Oh, I finally watched a video of you guys, and you don't sound anything like I thought you did." So yeah, wow, what weird timing is that? Very interesting. I legit did not put that together until just now. I wasn't even thinking about it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
I want to talk about how also that, to make it even, it's a little bit of a stretch, but to prolong this thought, I forgot what this episode was about until they pulled up in the driveway.
Oh yeah, because we've now done two. I mean, realistically, this episode has like two very unique stories that kind of like combine.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where our voices don't match what the episode was about here. So keep it going.
Sure.
But I was upset as a first-time watcher of this episode way back when in 2002, because I knew that what they were advertising for the episode was that these two ladies were going to come back. And I was like, oh, this is going to be trouble. And I remember being upset that they didn't get to that part until like the third act. And I was upset back in the day about it. And watching
felt like
now,
it was almost like false advertising or something of that nature, where it's like, no, I want an episode about these two people, and you don't see them until there's 7 minutes left in the episode.
Yeah, but like watching it now, I was very much enjoying everything in the episode up until this point so far. Like, and I completely forgot that they were in the episode, honestly. Just interesting to me.
Yeah, no, that is very interesting. You know what though? The maybe another interesting tidbit to that, the part that you were most excited about, this resolution, which actually Al Jean even talked about how he was excited to tie this up, because he always felt it was a loose end that they just left open for years at this point, and he thought it would, like, the idea that these two could just like be like left behind and nothing would ever come of it is kind of ridiculous. So he was excited to bring them back. But at this point in the commentary, Delroy had apparently had enough, because he basically said to them, well, guys, he said, have we covered this, fellas? And this is where I really, really felt for Algene, because I felt like I've been there on this podcast multiple times with certain people, because he scrambled so well, and he essentially acknowledged that, like, yeah, there's really nothing else that you need to say if you're done saying it. But then he immediately like dove into like a story and like started continuing to talk to him, and managed to keep him around almost to the very end. He did disconnect like a couple minutes before the end of the episode, actually, which is kind of funny itself. But just the scramble here for like 5 to 6 minutes, it is a little bit awkward. I don't want it to sound like I'm throwing this dude under the bus, though. That's not even the case at all. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting, he brought up, basically he acknowledged as he was getting off the call or whatever, that like he wasn't like a Simpsons guy from the beginning, because it just wasn't really part of like who he was at that time when it was coming out, but his kids absolutely love it. And they talked about how it had shifted from being kind of like this, lesser known thing to this like cultural icon to this like now staple. And they brought up a quote from Jim Brooks, who had always said, or James Brooks, as we should probably respectfully call him, because we're not them. But he said that, and he pointed out that James Brooks had at one point said The Simpsons started out being counterculture, and now it's just culture.
That's such a short, sweet, and all-encompassing idea there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I thought it was interesting and a kind of just a beautiful and simple thought. It to some extent reminds me of like how we constantly find ourselves saying the art, the heart, and the smart. And you know what? This episode encompasses that entirely. There are emotional moments that we haven't even gotten to with Homer and Marge here. There's so much humor. I brought up Bart already, and then just some very, very smart ways that they tied these things together and created this very unique episode.
Yep. Well spoken, Miles.
So getting into our third act, then, we are now dealing with the fallout of Amber and Ginger, which is Homer and Ned's Vegas wives. They are watching their wedding video in which Homer actually kissed Ned, as opposed to them kissing their brides, which...
Good save there, producers.
Yeah, that the new wives had saved the video as like proof, I guess. And obviously Marge isn't taking it super well. If I had known there were loose women in Las Vegas, I would have never let you go. So also Homer's defense is that like, but yeah, I married her, but it stopped there. I immediately abandoned her, and that for some reason didn't make Marge happy. I'm very confused on the psychology of what she's going through there, because he obviously tried his best.
Yeah, but while that interaction might not be going well, you would think, hey, Ned just lost a wife. He could use a new one.
Yeah, just an exchange a wife program in heaven or whatever. Yeah. Well, it does go very differently with Ned, for sure. We do see Ned as being a lot more, I guess, just like open? He's being a good guest or like a host. I mean, he's like just opening his home to her or whatnot. He's even like, well, Ginger, it sure is neat that you managed to hunt me down.
Where's the bed?
Oh, Lord, I know my new wife is a little more peppermint that you're used to, but I know you'd want me to honor my sacred vow, so I'll just...
Hey, stud, where do you keep your wet ones? I need a shower.
Oh, well, we've got a real shower upstairs.
Upstairs? I hit the jackpot.
Over next door at the Simpsons home, again, a little bit different tone. Homer is trying to, as the script says, reconcile with his first wife. So, sitting on the bed, huh?
Get out, Homer.
This is where he explains that just stopped at marriage. They never made whoopee or even mouth whoopee.
Homer, I don't know if I can ever forgive you. Please go away.
Fair enough, but I'm going to come back with the greatest gift a husband can give his wife, an annulment from his secret wife.
And like honestly, it's when especially the way Marge says that, like you hit that point in your brain where you're like, I don't know now that this is out there, like, can they come back from this? Because I don't think they can.
This is the heart part, man. This is what I was referring to. We're gonna have some emotions swirling for these last probably 5-ish minutes at this point. For now, though, we cut to the courtroom where we get that Judge Judy-like judge that we saw a few episodes back, essentially declaring Mr. Simpson, under Nevada law, bigamy or Mormon hold'em is perfectly legal. Both marriages stand. I hereby order you to take care of both of your wives.
But I only love Marge.
Oh yeah, you missed that. I cut you off on that one. Homer's still declaring he only wants Marge, but the bailiff is literally putting a second wedding ring on his finger.
Mm-hmm. So that's it. Marge kicks Homer out. What else?
He does, and despite his very, very solid protest that could cause a miscount in the census, for some reason she's still not having him. He decides he's going to take residence in the treehouse, and he ends up having Amber climb up there with him. And he at first protests and is like, "Please just leave me alone."
Now, Mama's going to make you a snack.
And we get a very interesting scene that really, according to the commentary, again, pushed the boundaries with the censors quite a bit. And it did get them talking about some pretty interesting notes. So first, I'll say that we're going to get the silhouette of Homer and Amber up in the treehouse with Marge in the bed below. Marge can't actually see. She can only hear the situation, which makes her punchline even funnier because Homer is getting like really into it. He's like, "Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, don't stop. Oh, yeah, faster, faster. Oh, fast. Oh, you do that like a pro.
Oh, yeah. Take this into the other room, please."
I feel like I lost my co-host who is supposed to come in and say, "Oh, no, she's making him a sandwich."
I thought you could play both parts. I thought we might possibly in the next 20 or so minutes get interrupted. I get interrupted by our third co-host. So I wanted to get rid of that third co-host before it happens. I was doing what was best for you, Miles.
Got you. I feel like I'm being gaslit in the weirdest way right now, but as long as you use both hands, I'm happy.
I have a secret shame second co-host.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm going to need to see video evidence or it doesn't count.
Okay.
Basically, if the weirdness of that interaction that we just had with me and Richie didn't fuck the joke up or get the point of the message across, the things that Homer is saying sound very sexual, but Marge immediately recognizes that he is in fact just having a sandwich made for him.
She's making him a sandwich.
We're past that. You missed that already. Don't worry about it. This did get to some interesting talk, though, about just how weird the censors can be. And Al brought up one of his favorite ones from this episode. Like, there's always, like, weird things where it's like, you can't specifically say this word or you can't say it in this order, but, like, if you flip it around, it's fine. And one of the notes that they got, and this is for Abe later for what it's worth, but it was, the line was originally written, "How about taking a ride on the Abe train?" And they wouldn't let them use that. So that line got changed to, "How about giving Honest Abe another term in your Oval Office?" Which Al pointed out, that sounds much worse, like way more graphic. But that's just like the weirdness of censors is like certain things are just a hard no.
So when we cut to the Flanders house in a second, we have what might be my favorite line ever up to this point.
Ever?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We're at the Flanders home where we see Ginger waking up, and I do like she leaves her entire face on the pillow, meaning that it's mostly makeup. And the kids and Ned are singing "Rise and Shine and Give God Your Glory, Glory," which is very confusing to her because I don't think she's ever woken up to breakfast in bed before.
Huh? What? Huh?
Me and the boys made you breakfast in bed. It's the best darn diddly way to start your first Flanders day. I see what you did there.
No, that's not the line I'm even referencing.
Oh, I thought you were
That would have
being
been
wholesome
sweet.
and yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then ruin it. Why don't you?
You think you could Irish up this coffee for me?
Oops, watch it with the swear words, honey bear. We don't use the I word in this house.
Where's my cigarettes?
Huh, we flushed your sin sticks down to hell.
That's the line. I know that Miles totally butchered it for all of you listening right now.
We flushed your sin sticks down to hell? How did I butcher it?
He really undersold it. But the way that it was spoken in here, like with the happy and joy in the way that Rod says it, like it was so freaking funny. So like, please go back, listen to it. Don't let Miles undersell it because it was the most fantastic thing that has ever been uttered by a character up to this point.
Bold, interesting statement. All right, I like the line. I don't think I loved it like you loved it. I'm not gonna lie.
The way that he delivered it, and by he I mean she, completely just it was fantastic. It was so hilarious.
Fair enough. We see that the Vegas moms are trying to bond with the kids, but they're being a little bit resistant at this time. That's all it says, and frankly, I don't remember what the hell happened in this scene, so I'm moving past it unless you feel it's important. Because at the bar, Homer is actually taking his wives out to Moe's, and Lenny is like, oh wait, no, I'm all over the place too. This is an interesting day. It's much like the commentary. At the bar, Lenny tells Homer that a man with two wives ought to look happier, but Carl corrects him that it's a man with two knives who is happy.
Oh.
Once again, we see that Homer is still not welcome in his home, but this time when he goes to climb up to the treehouse, it's already occupied by Amber, and he's literally disgusted by her as she sleeps with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. He tries to climb into the dog house, which is his third, putting maybe a little bit too on the nose for the metaphor, but it's his third option, and that's where he's going. He ends up getting stuck, and specifically his head gets stuck in it. He's like running around with the doghouse on top of his head and shoulders, and he's screaming like crazy, of course, which Marge does look at him and seem sympathetic towards him, we'll say, in this moment.
Yeah, like you can see that's his act of buffoonery is reminding Marge why she loves him.
Indeed, yes. And the next day, it seems that Homer eventually passed out on the lawn, and Marge wakes him. Homer?
Marge, you're speaking to me?
Why don't you come inside and we'll talk?
Talk about what? Sports? Bigamy?
Bigamy?
Not a sports fan, huh?
Good try.
Oh, man.
Solid effort on that one. We see up front that Amber is in her bikini, just sitting out in an inflatable pool on the front yard. And it seems that the conversation inside may not have gone so well because Marge seems very angry. Marge gets a solid burn here when she walks out and tells him that Homer needs to leave and take Brittany beers with him.
Ooh,
that's a good roast.
Aloe vera for that burn.
Yeah. There also is it's almost sad, like awkward. I don't know. It's uncomfortable to some extent because the children are like very just like, yep, it was a good run with you, Dad. Have a nice life. And this is the scene I was getting to earlier because Homer actually takes Amber with him to Moe's where they're going to start their new life together. And unlike Gabriel, Amber absolutely is keeping up with Homer because they have a bunch of empty glasses in front of them. Homer tells Moe, one more, my lady's glass is empty. Please bring her another cookies and cream martini.
No, honey, this time make it a sex on the beach and hold the beach.
This is where Lenny gets excited. Hey, homie, your new wife is great. Her lips look like night crawlers.
You know, she can put that mole anywhere on her face.
Oh. And they see Homer and Amber toast one more time, and the next morning, Amber wakes up in the treehouse. There's somebody next to her. It has not been revealed quite yet. She's clearly got a hangover because she takes some aspirin, and she literally like shakes the bottle down her throat. And then she takes some RU486, which I will admit I had to Google. That is the morning after pill, ladies and gentlemen, which if you live in Texas, you should probably be investing in right now just before, or get it while you can, sort of thing. And this is where we see the lump of person that was laying next to Amber wake, and it's not Homer Simpson, it's Abe Simpson.
Morning, love muffin.
Who are you?
I'm your new husband, and that was a wedding night I'll never forget.
Oh no, we didn't.
We almost didn't, but you wouldn't take "I can't" for an answer. Wanted to give Honest Abe another term in the Oval Office?
No!
Oh, thank God.
and Grandpa is relieved because apparently, again, she didn't take "I can't" for an answer, which implies, I don't know, a splint of some sort, I guess. Good thing they had popsicles for dessert.
Ooh.
Amber is like blackout drunk, does not understand. Basically, it's a reversal of what happened to Homer. Instead of Homer getting blackout drunk in Vegas and marrying Amber, this time Amber gets blackout drunk in the Simpsons' hometown of Springfield, whatever state that's in. And they end up marrying Abe, which I guess like one problem with that is we know that in Nevada bigamy was legal, but it's not implied, or it's implied that Springfield is not in Nevada, right?
No, I think it's implied very much so that if they're upholding the state law, that they are in fact.
Is this the proof that it's Nevada?
It has to be, right?
Yeah,
which would make it even more hilarious.
Nevada for sure has an ocean and a mountain next to it, right?
Exactly. That's what would make it even more hilarious.
How can that be?
And snow frequently.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this basically, they have a video of Amber denouncing all of her other husbands to wed Abe, essentially, which frees Homer up. And it turns out that this was all a plan of the Simpsons all along. Basically, ever since that little talk they had, this was a Simpsons family coming together, just like they did with Gabriel, to learn to help each other succeed as opposed to fighting with each other. And in this case, getting rid of Homer's floozy ex-second wife.
I'm so proud of us. When we stick together, we can do anything.
And just fortunately enough, it seems that Flanders, like, just they call it saccharin, just too sugary sweet lifestyle, is causing Ginger to go crazy. So she decides to run off with Amber, and both of them take off back to Vegas because they figure they can probably be won as prizes on poker games.
Cool.
And yeah, this is where Marge is happy for the Simpsons family, though there's one member that is a little down because Abe pops in. Oh, I lost another wife.
I'm so sorry, Grandpa.
Well, it hurts now, but the senility will take care of that. There she goes. And then he turns to Homer. You know, I have a son about your age.
Oh, I love that.
And that brings us to the end of our third and final act and to the end of the episode, Brawl in the Family. Richie, is there anything else that you or that book of yours want to point out about this episode?
Wait, aren't they all still technically married to the other girls?
Honestly, bro, I'm at this point very confused on how those laws work. And if they are in fact in the state of Nevada or not.
So yeah, I am still confused about that. I was still confused with that after they're watching it for the first time. And I remember not really being happy with the episode at the end, or like I was just, again, like I said, I was so dang upset that it took them 2 acts to get to the girls. Because they had promoted the hell out of it, and so I wanted to see the more repercussions from what Ned and Homer did. So, I guess since then they killed one wife to make it easier for Ned. And they just had Gabriel in the episode for 2/3 of the way to cover for a while it was almost like they were buying themselves time, I guess. So it's a little weird, honestly, like the pacing of the episode. And like I still feel that it is a little bit off.
Like
it's
a bait
like
and switch type of
Yeah.
situation.
And they literally baited and switched with food dangling from a tree. So yeah, it was a little weird, and I still feel that it's kind of weird a little bit too, but I very much enjoy the episode much, much more now than I did way back in the day. Like, I very much enjoy this episode. I thought it was a good one.
Hell yeah, dude. I think that I don't have that problem with it because I didn't see the advertisements for it. Again, this is at the period of time in which I'm 3.5 months into having a driver's license at this point. I was nowhere near home on a Sunday night. I was out doing something somewhere, or trying to be. So with that said, the first time I saw this was when we had the DVDs and when we were living together in Denton. I remember liking this episode, but reviewing this episode, I enjoyed it more than I did previously. And then I'll say this. After watching the weird commentary, for some reason, even though it really didn't have a lot to do with the episode itself, my second watch through of this so I always watch the episode, then I watch the episode with commentary, and then I watch the episode again before we record. And this last time before we recorded, I laughed a lot harder that time than I did the first time. And I don't know if maybe it's like the imprint of some of the commentary like stories and the reactions made me appreciate it more. But I very much enjoyed this episode despite its obvious flaws, and I agree, weird pacing.
Well, good.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's got the best line of all time.
Yeah, I think we've strongly disagree on that. I'm glad that line resonated with you, and I did like the line, but like not at all. Like, would not have guessed that in a million years that was what
it was. The delivery of it.
Delivery was fantastic. I agree. I did a really good job. Like, I feel like if maybe Todd would have taken notes from me, it would have been funnier. But
well, I mean, Todd was not the one that said it according to the script. So
was it Rod?
You might
Either way, I always get the.
Was it a Rod?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Dirty.
We both appreciate this episode, but we also appreciate all of our listeners who tune into this episode, the ones that comment that, we don't look like what we sound like. That's dope. I'm glad to hear that. It's weird to hear that, but it's I
hope that means that we sound sexy.
Yeah, that could go a number of different ways, and I hope it goes all of them, baby. Yeah. No, but thank you so much for tuning in and subscribing on Patreon and telling your friends and just like downloading the show in general. We do appreciate it.
You can follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. But more importantly than that, please come out and see his performance at the end of October so you can see what he sings like in person too, I guess would be the correct way to put it.
Well, if you're local enough to go to that, come see me do comedy. I do that like every weekend. You can come follow me on that. I post it all at Mr. Most Days Off for my stand-up stuff and musical stuff apparently.
But you can follow him there. You can follow me at @thewiz_kid23 where I'm not singing. So, there's the bonus on that part. But most importantly, with the weirdness of all of this episode and how we've been performing, you can follow our show. That's at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
We will be back again next week. We've got more great Simpsons season 13 episodes to come, I should say. Next week, we are covering Sweet and Sour Marge.
And no matter how hard you guys try, you can't flush these two sticks down to hell.
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.